the reMarkable platform. You know, ever since I got my hands on the reMarkable Paper Pro Move a couple of months ago, I fell in love with the reMarkable platform as a whole. And because of that, I had to go get the reMarkable 2. Today I'm going to show you guys how I've implemented the reMarkable 2 into my daily workflow as one of my daily driver tablets, and what I like about the filing structure and how I use it for planning. So that's what we're going to talk about in this part 2 of the reMarkable 2. Is it still a viable tablet for 2026? Let's check it out. Welcome everybody back to the channel. This is 2530 Media, and of course, I am Aaron Reed. Hey guys, if you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you will be notified when I release these videos, which I try to do once or twice a week. And of course, if you find the information that I'm giving you guys today informative or just entertaining, go ahead and hit that like. All right, so before we get into the actual use case of what I'm using the reMarkable 2 for, we're going to check out my filing structure, how I have my organization set up on tablet to be able to quickly maneuver around, get access to those PDFs, EPUBs, notebooks, whether they're handwritten or if they're text notes that I started on the partner wrap. I'm going to show you guys why I like reMarkable and how you can put all that information into one place. So the reMarkable platform allows you to have a folder, subfolder filing structure, and you have the ability to save all of your documents in one folder. So if you have a PDF like I have here, if you have handwritten notes, well, this one is going to actually be a text note that was started on the partner wrap. You can save all of these things within one filing structure, one folder on the tablet. So let's look at my filing structure to see how I have my folders set up for my documents. So the first one here is just going to be Aaron's Bookstore. This is going to be where I have EPUBs, PDFs, a lot of my reading material that I bring onto the reMarkable platform that is here. So if you see here, I just have another segment of folders. One is going to be productivity. That's where I'm going to put some of those like self-help guides, things like that I'm reading for self-improvement. I'll put that in productivity. From there, I do have a place for my reading journals. So if I have an EPUB on tablet, I'll put that there, and then I'll have my reading journal. And then I have a TBR folder. That TBR folder is just going to be books or literature that I plan on reading within the future. So I also kind of make a list of books that I want to check out. So this is where I have that notebook of notes where if I'm out and about, I hear about a book that I want to check out, or I may read a review, I'm in a bookstore, I see something that I want to check out, I'll write that down for my TBR. I'll get those later on. Now I get into just my daily folders of productivity that I use. So the first one you're going to see here is my archive. Now this archive folder, this is where I place things that I'm going to keep on tablet for a little while. Depending on what it is, how often I use it is going to determine how long it's going to stay on tablet. So what we have here are just random folders of information of things that I haven't moved off tablet just yet. I usually keep things in that archive folder for, like I said, 2 to 3 months, depending on how often I have to use it. I do have some files that I keep on here permanently because I go back and forth and use them from time to time. It's just not something I'm actively working on right now. So that archive folder is going to be for all those things that I'm not actively working on and projects that I finished that I'm just keeping on tablet for a little while. So the next piece of my file structure is going to be creative. Now, when I go into creative, the creative part of my file structure is going to be all of my creative projects that I'm working on. This is where I'm going to have my creative writing for my book project. This is where I'm going to have my creative writing for my scripts. I'm also going to have my idea bank here. So my idea bank is pretty much a collection of notebooks that I've created to jot down those quick ideas. And I kind of have them separated by which projects I'm working on. It's nothing too serious. It's when I just get quick ideas. A lot of the ideas never see the light of day. Some of the ideas I actually use, but it's just something I write down. Whenever I get an idea, I write it down and see if it's going to get legs. So now these next 3 file folders are going to be the folders that I'm in every day. One is going to be projects, and the other one is going to be daily. Now, my projects folder, this is going to be where all of my active projects live, whether if it's for work, whether if it's for personal. and everything in between. If it's a project that I'm actively working on, it's not me writing my book or me working on my scripts. Everything else that I am actively working on is going to go here. So those projects that I'm working on at work, all of that information is going to go here in a folder inside of current projects. Other things that I have inside of my projects folder are going to be things that I am actively doing research on. So if we look here, I have a 3D printing folder because I'm actively doing research on which 3D printer I'm about to buy to start some 3D printing projects. So I have a quick little manual here that I found online, which is some entry-level information on 3D printing, and it's giving me some information on the type of 3D printer that I'm looking to purchase, how to use it, what type of filament, all of that information. So as I'm gathering more information on that project or that research, then I'm going to put it in here. And what I like about the reMarkable platform is that I'm able to just add notes in between these pages. I can easily do that. So now I've added a note or a notebook page in the middle of this PDF booklet that I have, and then I can write any kind of information I want. And usually when I add a sheet of paper to a PDF, that's when I'll go ahead and tag it. And whatever name I tag my sheet of paper, I'll also tag this as well. So I'll tag both sheets, so now I know exactly where to go find that information. So the projects is going to be for everything that I'm actively working on right now, active projects. And then the last piece of organization will be daily. Now, daily is where all of my daily stuff lives, like my planning. So this is where you're going to find my planning. You'll find my journals there. I have 2 journals on the reMarkable platform that I use. One is going to be a nighttime journal that I write recaps of my day. And another journal is going to be my work journal. My work journal is where I'm writing information throughout my day of how that work day went. I'm going to write success. I'm going to write roadblocks, but I'll write how I overcame all of that, what was successful, and what I need to do some work on. I'll actually have some notes in there for those projects that I'm working on at work. That's where that lives. So everything that I use to roll my daily life, my daily schedule, all of that is going to live in daily. Those things get moved to archive once each month rolls over. So now let's look at the reMarkable tool so I can show you guys how I use it for planning and time management. So normally when I look at my planning, what I'm going to use for the day, of course I would access daily, and within daily you would see that folder here. But I have some information in there that I don't want to share with you guys, so I don't have it on here right now. But what I do have is a demo folder here. Now, I'm no expert at planning, okay? This is just what works for me. I'm showing you guys my workflow. You guys will let me know in the comments if you guys think there's a better way I can do this, or share with me what's your process. But this is just what works for me. I don't know, it might be a little weird. I like to start off with what I call an outline of my week. My planning days are on Sundays. Sundays is when I plan the next week out. What I like to do is have an overview of what I want to get accomplished within that week. So you guys will see here, I have week 3, January 11th through the 17th of 2026. So this was for week 3. And what I have here is what I call my focus. So normally I'm not going to identify more than 3 main focus items for the week. It all depends on what I have going on at work, along with my personal things. Usually every project or everything that I'm doing at work will have one of those focus items, and then I'll have something that I'm working on personally, whether if it's content creation with my YouTube channel and my projects I'm working on with script writing, or like this week, I didn't have a lot going on. I just had content research. And that content research that I had as my main focus item was honestly just me researching information, concepts, character development for my 2 stories that I'm currently working on and writing. So here I just have the week. Next, I like to identify what those main focuses are. So next, I just have like a quick little paragraph of what that focus will be, what I want to accomplish, kind of list those goals out. So this next section down here, activities that are going to be included in me hitting that main focus. So if I was working on a project at work, it will be these main bullet points that I need to do to make sure I complete that project. For instance, this was my content research, so I had a couple of different bullet points of things that I needed to do that would help me hit that goal for the week. And I like using this method here because reMarkable allows me to have checkboxes. So once I get to a focus item here that I've completed, I simply tap the box. It's going to check it off for me. So it's a checklist. Once I complete it, I check it off. If it's something that I didn't get to complete, I don't check it off, of course, and that's when I'll see when I can reschedule that activity. If I move it to the next week, maybe 2 weeks from now, depending on the importance of the activity, what type of hard deadline I have, things like that. I also have like secondary activities because how I plan and I use playlists in conjunction with this, and it's not like singular activities. I'm not only focused on one thing, I have multiple focuses throughout the week. This is where I have some of those high energy activities, some of those high energy focused things that I need to take care of, that I need to hit. Not necessarily my main focus, but they are important. I'll have those down here. A lot of times, these are things that were rollovers from the previous week. And again, I like to set it up with the checkbox. Once I complete it throughout the week, I go ahead and check it off. But once I actually sit down and get my overview together, the next thing I use the reMarkable for is the planning out of the week. So this is that page here. It's a template that you can find within reMarkable Methods, and it's simply just a weekly planner. So this is where I took that information from that overview, those focus points I want to hit, and now I'm planning them out each day. I'm using this in partnership with my calendar and playlists. So now I can see what meetings I already have scheduled, what tasks I already have scheduled, if I have some important meetings, if I already have some things from a project that rolled over from the previous week that I still have to hit. I do a lot of Zoom, I do a lot of team calls throughout the week, so I have to factor that stuff in. I also leave some gaps in my schedule for miscellaneous things that pop up, because we all know how life is. So once I actually plan out which day I'm going to do which activities, the time that I have allotted for those activities, I'm going to put them here. So once I have the information planned out for the week here, the next step is to go on my computer or grab my phone and schedule all of this stuff inside of playlists. Playlists allows me to identify those focus tasks, plan them out, and then keep myself accountable and track when I'm doing it, how I'm doing it. If I need to reschedule some stuff, I move it around. So now within the same folder, once I've passed the stage of identifying those focus items, planning out the time and days I'm going to do it, how much time I'm going to allocate towards it, this is what I use for each specific day to take notes on how my day is going for us completing those projects, those goals, those focus items. And it's broken down from morning, afternoon, and evening. So all of those morning activities, 9 times out of 10 are going to be work-related activities. And this is where I'm taking notes. If there's anything that I want to write like extended notes about, that's when I'll roll over to my work journal. Now, after each day, I will copy this page and move this page over to my work journal. So I do have this page within my work journal to go with the rest of those notes. A lot of work projects do roll over to the afternoon, but most of the afternoon and the evening activities are a lot of my content creation. Working on my YouTube channel, recording and editing videos, writing on my book, working on those scripts, doing character development research, doing interviews with other content creators, or having meetings with other content creators, businesses to set up future work. A lot of that's done in the afternoon and the evening. So also what I use while I'm rolling through my day, and normally this is used for strictly just at work. It's not necessarily a day planner. It's just a line template and it's numbered. I'll make one for each day. This is where I will write down anything that comes up that's not scheduled but has to be a priority. I'll write that down here and I will write that in its respective hour that it's going on. So let's say I get to work at 5 a.m. I find out when I get to work at 5 a.m. that I have a unscheduled project meeting that's going to be for 9:30. I'll simply find the number 9 line and I'll just write that quickly down. This is also another page that I will copy and add to my work journal with this page right here. And then after this page, it just repeats back to this for the next day. And I organize all of this stuff by tags. I have it tagged January 12th, so I'll make a tag for that day. So everything that I have going on within my daily planning, January 12th, it'll carry that tag. So if I have to search for anything, I can go here, I can either type in the tag that I know I'm looking for. Let's say I forgot which tag I was looking for, but I'll know it when I see it. Then I'll select that January 12th tag. Once I select that tag, everything that I have tagged January 12th will show here, and then I can quickly navigate to it. So something else that we discuss a lot about using these e-ink tablets is how to quickly access your information. Almost all platforms have some way for you to quickly access your information without having to go all the way to the root filing menu. So I'll show you guys what reMarkable does for us users to be able to quickly jump back and forth between our files. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move my demo folder over to where I would store it in the daily. Once I move it to the daily, I would normally have a folder for that week labeled up here. So now I moved it in daily. So let's just say I'm working in a random notebook and I need to jump to my daily folder. So with a 2-finger swipe, you can pull down this top menu. Now what this is a way for you to access your files quickly without going all the way to the home page and digging through files. Our first selection is going to be recent. So these are going to be all of your recent files that you've opened, and you'll find them there. Now this other tab is going to be your favorites. So whatever you make your favorite, kind of like Supernote's quick access menu that limits you to 8, you can throw them here. So if I make it a favorite, now I have access to it in my favorites tab, which is just the finger swipe down. And now I can access that daily's notebook, and I'm right back to the page that I was working on. So this is how I quickly navigate through my files on the reMarkable 2. And I actually like this a little bit better than how Books and Supernote and some of the other platforms implement it. They all have quick ways for you to access your files. I happen to like this method a little bit better, but again, all the platforms have pretty good ways to access your files. All right, guys, so that's how I use the reMarkable 2 to set up my week with planning. I use it for note-taking, and that's just one of my workflows that I have for the reMarkable platform. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this workflow that I have for planning, and of course my file structure that I have on the reMarkable platform. Again, I'm not an expert at this, so I would love to hear your thoughts. What do you do? If you have reMarkable 2, how do you set up your file structure? How do you use it for planning, if you use it for planning, and what that looks like? If you're using another platform, like a Supernote, like a Books, maybe a PenStar, or any of the other platforms that are out there, what's your workflow? How do you set up your file structure? I'd love to hear from you guys. Thanks for checking out the channel, and I'll see you guys on the next video.